you many things. We wish you all a funky day.
We're not at the bench.
Not at the bench.
This is episode 15, people. Uncle
15.
Greg,
Dime and a half.
I missed you. I got to say it. I did. I enjoy this.
Well, your aim is getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I missed you. Next time
I missed you too, Rod. Hold me.
So you've been very busy boy. So let's what do we want to talk about today? So we
Well, first off, technically we're not at the bench. We're in the office.
yes.
And this is
Pirate stuff.
there's stuff.
Yep.
So this is the office. The bench is on the other side of the wall. But I had some things I needed to do and everything just kind of lined up. I was sick last week, so I'm going to be coughing throughout this.
Okay.
And I want to apologize in advance. Thank God for Mucinex, let's just say. And but a lot of stuff going on. Sunday I played at the Joy To The Burg
Yes.
show. JoyToTheBurg.com is a charity that I'm involved in. Actually, there's the art.
Mm-hmm.
Joy To The Burg, what we do is local musicians record original and traditional Christmas music, and then the music is sold as a download off joytotheburg.com, and 100% of the proceeds go to help homeless in our area. And as a result of starting this a few years ago, we actually got to working with some government agencies. We actually got to open a women's overnight shelter because there was nowhere for women to go that were in trouble. And so this is near and dear to me, and I will continue to contribute. And so we had a show on Sunday, and all manner of entertainment, including I put together a band called Greg Platzer and Associates. Sounds like a law firm. And then Shake Plan played.
An all-star band.
Yeah, actually.
It is.
Well, with the exception of me, yes.
No.
We had Logan Bedard on drums.
Yeah, who I interviewed.
And Michael Giblin on bass, world-renowned producer, member of Split Squad with Clem Burke with Blondie. And all-around nice guy, an extremely well-dressed man. And Brian Seneca. What was that?
He has a Parallax Project too.
Parallax Project. Yeah, I played on Parallax Project song. Came out like an Ian Hunter song. It was really cool. And then Brian Seneca on vocals and guitar from Zero Gravity and Bamboo Igloo, Trouble Walking, and most notably Brian and Greg the first Saturday of every month at Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Though that might be changing. So we'll talk about that.
Plot twist.
There are, you know what? There are so many things new and exciting going on.
Please don't tell me that place is going out of business.
No.
I love it. Every time I get into a place, it leaves me.
No. That's fantastic place. Fantastic place. No, it's actually, I'm not a big fan of the holidays, and I've had some bad things happen in the holidays in the past, but I'm not letting that get to me. I'm enjoying the holidays this year. And I'm bound and determined to continue to do that. And so back to Joy To The Burg. So with Joy To The Burg, did I mention joytotheburg.com? Did I mention joytotheburg.com?
Yes.
And everybody should go there and buy this year's product. There's some great stuff on there. I mean, there's some really good music on there. And Jelly Bricks. That's all you need to know right there. Which I got to say, Jelly Bricks are the best band in the area. That's all there is to it. And you know what? Anybody disagrees with me, they just don't know.
Yeah.
The Jelly Bricks are it. But no, it's a worthwhile thing. Get some great music. Help out some people that you'll never meet, and feel good, and help us to continue to help.
Mhm.
So joytotheburg.com, joytotheburg.com. None of us got paid. None of us got paid. We
Okay.
all, in fact, I absorbed all the costs myself.
Mhm.
Some artists, there's one of the some big institution underwrote a lot of the a lot of the costs, uh,
Okay.
recording costs and this and that, whatever. Nah, man, not me, not me.
Yeah.
And Mike
So you're
Giblin,
you not only played last Sunday, you did a live show that features some of your original music.
yes, yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. In
Now,
fact, maybe you could, in the description of this, you could put a link to
there's a video.
my video. Yeah, it's
The video
Christmas.
is wonderful.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it's like I saw that. It's like, okay, yeah, that's what you did in August or whatever.
yeah, yeah, we did it in August,
Yeah.
and I actually wrote the song the night before the session, and then the wonderful Michael James Stipe did the video.
What is
He's in a
that?
band called Versus Machine. He's fantastic, and he did such a great video. And
Michael Stipe did your video?
Michael Stipe, Michael James Stipe, local guy, not the guy from REM.
Okay. I was just trying
Um,
to get you some more
well, the guy from REM hit on me at CBGB's, but we're not going to talk about that. I rebuffed his advances.
All right.
Um, But anyway, Michael James Stipe did a fantastic job. He has a band called Versus Machine. Go see him.
Mhm.
So anyway, so that's going on. Um, the funny thing is, the four of us got together at 3 in the afternoon on Sunday, ran through the set. I had given everybody the songs in advance, and then we went and played it. So we had never even really played together. Excuse me. We got together at Giblin's studio, and then we went and we played that show, and um it was fun to play with guys that are that damn good.
Mhm.
And segue, speaking of playing with guys that are that damn good, Mr. Seneca and I have a standing first Saturday of the month gig at the Blue Sky Tavern in Edders,
I've
which
heard
is a
that.
fantastic place. It's an Allman Brothers Government Mule themed venue, has excellent live entertainment, fantastic food. I've never eaten anything there I didn't like. And it, honestly, I've played a lot of places. This is the only place I play that I eat there.
Mhm.
And just terrific people, a terrific thing. And so what we do is every first Saturday, Mr. Seneca and I go in there and we just wing it. And it's a lot of fun. And well, at the last gig, uh, my drummer from my band Citizen Kane, my 80s, early 90s rock band Citizen Kane was out, and we decided that perhaps he needs to join up with us. And the other night I had a meeting with him and Dave, a bass player that he knows, that played in a band called P. Coltrane with him. And we are going to put together a rock and roll band. And so the February gig will be the debut of the rock band, hopefully.
Okay.
Um,
So
the January, wait. This is important. This is the first public's hearing this. The January gig, though, we're going to have some special guests. Uh, my girlfriend, Sarah Sheriff, will be performing with her friend Allie, who is a singer with our a church group, and she's amazing. She's actually Sarah and Allie just did audition for The Voice. Um, this woman can sing. She is mind blowing. She
Mhm.
can pull off Pink. She can pull off Heart. She can pull off all kinds of great stuff. She's effortless singer, brilliant singer, and a truly cool individual. So she and Sarah are going to play with us on whatever January 6th, I think it is, at the Blue Sky. So people come out and show support for live music. And the really cool thing is there's no cover. So even you cheap bastards can come out and have fun. And well, Rod, I would probably guest list you, but you know.
All right.
But anyway, so there's that. So
So okay, so you were talking about the drummer for Citizen Kane.
yeah.
Citizen Kane has layers of drummers, though, right?
No, Citizen Kane. No, Grumpy had layers of drummers. Citizen
You
Kane.
got Sam.
Who?
Didn't you have a Sam Panther?
Uh, that was actually that was probably after me. Um, I was in a band from 89 to 92,
Okay.
and we had one drummer at that time, Jeff Stout. Yeah, Sam Panther took over when Jeff left. Sam Panther joined. I was long gone by then.
Okay.
In 1992, Ed, the other guitar player and self-proclaimed leader of the band, had um, he and the singer that we had at the time, whose name I won't mention, between the two of them, I didn't want to be part of it anymore, and I left.
Yeah.
And they carried on as a single guitar band for a while, and then they got the great Mark Rambler to play with them for a
I've
while.
never seen Mark Rambler play. Like
Oh
I've
my
seen
God!
videos, but back in the day,
Back in the day,
he used to play in
uh,
Killer Hit.
oh, he's so good, it's crazy.
That's what I heard. He auditioned for Kiss, and
Yeah, he the funny thing was he actually called me and said, "Hey, Greg, Citizen Kane wants me to join. Is that okay with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, go ahead. I'm done." I left. But Jeff, Jeff Stout, um, tremendous drummer, tremendous guy, and um, I'm still friends with Sean, the bass player,
Sean was
and
the very first. I know I told you this before. The very first bass player I ever played with,
oh, really?
like 1985,
That's cool.
like 84, 85. He left his bass in my basement, and I'm learning.
He's still around, man.
Yeah,
He owns
yeah,
a studio now, and
yeah.
but and then and Jeff and myself and we actually are considering doing a reunion gig at some point. The singer Sean Carmen now lives in Philly area, Jersey, something like that. Plays with a band called The Loop all over the Eastern Seaboard. Very popular shore band, and so we had considered a reunion a couple years ago. We were going to use Shane Berger as the other guitar player, but Shane has unfortunately left us,
Mhm.
and so that won't happen. So at some point, um, we'll put it back together because we talked to Kix about playing together because we used to play with Kix a lot, and
Mhm.
so perhaps there will be a Kix Kane reunion show at some point, and I would like to do that.
Mhm.
Uh,
Does anyone know where Ed is?
um, he's somewhere in Spain. He showed up on Facebook for a while, and Jeff actually talked to him, and then he disappeared again. So he's probably pissed somebody else off, and somebody else wants him dead. Um, I'm not a fan of the man.
Mhm.
He it was kind of like Dangerous Liaisons. He had everybody against everybody, and um, my philosophy on when you're in a band is you know if there's somebody that's a leader, then everybody should understand that that person's a leader. And if it's a democracy, then everybody should understand it's a democracy. But to tell everybody that we were all equal, but then he would make all kinds of decisions on our behalf without considering us, it's kind of a, yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, he moved to Europe a bunch of years ago, and he's still there from what we understand. And
Yeah, yeah. He had a he was intelligent. I guess he had lots of stuff that had nothing to do with music. His
yeah, yeah. Yeah, he worked for Schindler Elevator. He and Jeff worked for Schindler Elevator in Gettysburg at the time, and I lived in Gettysburg.
Mhm.
And so we hung out and this and that, whatever, and I ended up joining their band, which was called Triple X at the time. And once I joined, we made some changes and blah blah blah. And we actually, um, for a local band, we did really well for the time we were together. But um, it just became obvious to me that there were too many things that didn't have factual background supporting them.
Mhm.
So, but that was the past. The beautiful thing is moving on is that Jeff
30
was,
years ago.
yeah, it was, man.
30 years ago.
30 years ago I left Citizen Kane. And
Celebrating 30 years of no Kane.
Jeff was then an excellent drummer and now is an absolutely amazing drummer and a great guy and a
Played
guy
with
I
him
can
too
rely on. So yeah,
back in
he's
the day.
tremendous.
He was,
So we got that and I got another thing going on. A country artist whose name I will not say reached out to Sarah about having Sarah play in his band, and she doesn't have time. She's got so many things going on, and so she recommended me. So he and I talked, and the cool thing is this particular act. They play a lot of the uh, biker festivals. So they play Bike Week in Ocean City and Laconia and down in Panama City and Daytona and stuff like that. And they they uh, they play. They're the chosen band of an American motorcycle company, and so I'm in the process of learning songs for my audition.
Mhm.
And should I take that gig, then that'll be a lot of fun. And so I'll have the band with Seneca the first Saturday of every month, and then the rest of the month to play with this other band. So uh, I'm gonna hopefully be back out on stages
That's
soon.
wonderful. And I knew that was going to happen. It's, you say, I'm retired. I'm not playing anymore. My time. No, that is not it. You're not
Well,
done.
I felt, and
No,
it's funny because I was pretty much convinced that
no,
that my train had left,
your
and
train did not leave.
well, my train is screaming right now,
Right.
man. And
That's what. See,
um,
before Rod, no train. Before the bench, no train.
it's the Rod effect.
That's right.
It's the
The
Rod effect.
energy.
Hey, you know what's cool? If you've been watching my media
Mhm.
on Instagram, Greg Platzer Guitars, on Facebook, Greg Platzer Guitars, you've seen some of the projects I've been working on,
Mhm.
like the guitars I built for ZZ Top and what have you. Well, one of the things that I've been working on is now completed, and uh, this is the Redwood over Carina V. That there's my fancy logo,
Mhm.
and this thing weighs nothing. And it sounds amazing. The pickups were custom wound to my spec by Carondelet Pickups down in New Orleans, and this is a Carina body, figured Carina body with a redwood top, and it is a fine, 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 fine instrument. And I wish I hadn't already sold it because I would keep it for myself because it's tremendous. So I think I'm gonna have to build myself one.
My first million, I want one of those.
Okay.
That's
I'm working on my second million because I hear that's easier to make than the first.
yeah. Why don't you get? Yeah, I have no idea.
But anyway, yeah, I'll build you one of these. So so here it is, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been following along,
Mhm.
the lighting is not spectacular, but it
I
does
love light
bring out
guitars.
look at that redwood, man. Redwood is just such a great wood. Now you'll notice that the redwood is only 3/16 thick. Um, you can't make a guitar body out of redwood because it's so soft. It won't hold screws, for God's sake.
Mhm.
Every one of these screws, I would drill a hole, drive the screw in, then drop in a little water thin crazy glue, CA glue, so that the screw would stay in because otherwise it's so soft. So if you look at the bridge, if we were to make the whole guitar out of redwood, the bridge would just pull forward from the string tension. But it it makes really good acoustic guitar tops.
Mhm.
And on this guitar, now every guitar is different, and Carina varies like ridiculously from tree to tree, and even within one tree, you can have a lot of variance. But I have a lot of experience with Carina guitars, and the redwood adds a certain smoothness to it. It's visually exciting, but it kind of it just makes it sound more broken in, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe on a future thing, we'll plug it into the Kemper and run it through various different amps so you can hear. But just a terrific combination of redwood over Carina. And in fact, Rod, talk to the people. I'll be right back.
All right. Hi, people.
JoyToTheBurg.com.
JoyToTheBurg.com. You know, this is episode 15. At the bench, episode 15. Who would have thought that this would be happening? Episode 15. So, there's JoyToTheBurg.com. Many Harrisburg acts. We have the Greg Platzer Experience Associate.
Greg Platzer.
We
See, when
have
I'm not in the shop,
the-
I don't have all my stuff readily at hand.
We have the Jelly Bricks. We have Shay Quinn. Shay Quinn and the Love Gods, or is he?
Well, it was just Shay Quinn, I think.
Okay.
And
Featuring James Klippel on keyboards.
yeah, just a bunch of great artists.
Mm-hmm.
Karina Rose, Grant Bryan. I think Grant was on this one. He's been on all the other ones. Just there's 30 this year. It's a download instead of a CD because there's 30 songs this year.
Yeah.
So
you got to think how many people still have a CD player.
I do.
Yeah, I know. I have one in the basement that's not hooked up, like a boom box.
Mm-hmm.
But that is one. Yeah.
Well, a lot of the older folks,
like something to touch.
People my age and older, they still use that technology. But anyway, it's just everybody should, even if you don't even care about music, but you want to help out people,
yeah,
you should contribute. You can contribute and not even download music.
You should purchase it even.
And yes, you can purchase it as a gift. Mm-hmm. Fantastic Christmas present. Buy a bunch of downloads, send people the codes, let them enjoy the music, and everybody feels good about helping out. But it's about helping out, man. It's about helping out. So I ran in the other room because I want to show you this. My next project.
That's the beginning of my next guitar.
Yep. This is a Black Karina, or Dirty Karina, or whatever you want to call it. And
Dirty Wood.
Thank the great Doug Kimball at Kimball Hardwoods. He is ridiculous. He gets the best wood. But here's the cool thing. What's going to go on top of that? This piece of redwood. Look at that. Oh my God. And both sides are just sick. And okay, now we're going to talk about something.
A lot of times you'll see, like, I don't know, see guitars like Les Paul's and like the quilted thing, but it's not real wood. Like it's some sort of.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Well, it'll be a veneer or a screen print or something. Yeah. This is a genuine piece of wood right here. And the cool thing about that is notice how the figure changes. That is called chatoyance, or lenticular activity. They couldn't have a simple word for it. But the thing is, as the light goes through the cells of the wood, it reflects back, and you can see how it changes.
Yeah.
And this is rough sawn. When this has a finish on it, it's going to be mind-blowing. And my buddy at Kimball Hardwoods, Derek Kimball, I can't say enough good about him. Mm-hmm. He hooks me up with the best damn wood. So there, the world, you just saw that, and I'm not even going to tell you what that's going to be when I'm done with it, but it's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal. So that piece of wood, this is a great piece of wood.
Yes.
And you can see that effect where it's,
dear Santa.
If you're a really good boy, Rod,
yes,
and somebody gives me a whole lot of money, you can get yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not.
Somebody want to spot me? Somebody want to put their money on what? I'm just kidding. Don't.
So
put the money on the Joy to the Burg.
JoyToTheBurg.com.
I don't need your money.
Give the money to Joy to the Burg. We all have enough.
Kemper. Let's talk about Kemper.
Kemper. I've played 2 gigs now with my Kemper. Brian and I had a short-lived band called Primetime Heroes. We did Colt Wilbur's Dirt Stock, and I brought my Kemper and I played through a Marshall JCM 800 for a song. I played through a Bogner for a song. I played a Fender Bassman for a song. and I used a diesel, and then I used Michael Britt, Eddie Van Halen profiles, and it was just so cool to have all those amps at my disposal. And then for the Joy to the Berg show, I just stayed on Michael Britt's JCM 800 profile. I did not. There was so much going on, and wasn't super comfortable, um, since we had literally just learned the songs. But I'm really looking forward to, when we get this new band up and running, being able to bring 400 amps to the gig and
Yes.
select what I want. And in fact, this country artist, a lot of the songs, he sent me a song list, and a lot of them are in E flat. And the cool thing is with the Kemper, I can set up a whole nother performance of all the amps that I'm happy with, but tune everything down a half step.
You
So
could.
instead of retuning the guitar, I'll just go to a profile that has the tuning corrected in it already.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was possible.
Everything's possible in
Oh,
these
yeah, I did
games.
not know this on my own.
Everything's possible.
So I got the little floor unit that goes along with it, and this is
Yeah.
going to be my 2023 New Year's resolution is to not be a scaredy cat for that.
No, no.
But
And honestly, you got to dive in, and I'm in the process right now. I haven't had a lot of time, but um Sarah is an expert on Kempers. Sarah Sheriff. You can see her out with Jillian Smith with a G. And then she's out with Grant Bryan Band. In fact, this Saturday they're at the Hollywood Casino.
right.
So if nobody's doing anything,
That
one
is
can
in
join me.
Grantville,
Yeah, in Grantville, PA,
okay,
at Penn National Racecourse.
right?
And she's an absolute expert, and she uses she's a Paul Reed Smith endorsed artist, Breedlove endorsed artist, and lately she's also been using Tellys by Mario Martin. And with the Kemper and her ability to be superior, you'll be blown away at what you're hearing. I mean, the Kemper is it's just a game changer. Now, let's talk about modeling amps.
All right.
All right. The first modeling amp that was commercially available was by a company called Johnson. And the Johnson modeler was a 212 with digital modeling in it. And it was a pretty lousy piece of equipment. Now, at the time, there was a program available through Pro Tools called Amp Farm. And Amp Farm they had basically modeled all manner of amplifiers, JCM 800s, Basemans, and this and that, whatever. And in the studio, one thing I've always done is I run off the guitar into a direct box, and then I'll run from the direct box into the amp, and then that is mic'd up and goes into, let's say, channel 16 is the guitar, but I'll run the direct right off the guitar off to channel 36.
Yes.
And then I save that. And then if I'm not happy with the amp tone later, or I need to do something, or I want to add something, then I can do what's called reamping, where I'll run that channel, which is that performance recorded directly off the guitar. And I can run it into any amp I want. Well, Amp Farm made it possible that you could do that internally. You didn't have to use outside amplifiers.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was Amp Farm became Line 6.
Okay.
And so Line 6 came out with the first economical modeling amp.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they made a huge mistake in that they tried to make it as inexpensive as possible. And so they basically took this modeling technology and they put it into really, really cheap amplifiers,
Yes.
toys. And so as a result, like I used to have a retail store, BCR Music in Lemoyne, and I can remember a guy coming in and he said, I got a Line 6. And now I can sound exactly like I'm playing an AC30. I sound just like Brian May. And I said, yeah. And we plugged a Rangemaster into an AC30, and I plugged him in, and he was like, oh my God. He's like, I had no idea. And I said, yeah, what you have is a rough approximation. It's an across the room, could be confused as, but it wasn't the experience of actually playing through an AC30.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I never liked about Line 6 amps, I have a tendency to run my volume about 7 or 8 on my guitar, and I've always been a tube amp guy, though I used a trademark 60 by Tech 21 for a long time, but it reacted like a tube amp. And by running the volume at 7/8, then when I want a little more, I go up to 10. And not only do I get a clarity boost, but I get a gain boost. And then I would roll back. But the cool thing is when you're starting with your guitar at 7/8, you've already added resistance to the circuit with the volume potentiometer. So as you turn your volume down, it doesn't lose high end. It sounds the same, just quieter. Whereas if you're running wide open, as soon as you drop the volume, you're adding a bunch of resistance to the circuit, and that attenuates the high end.
Mhm.
Well, that doesn't work with a line 6.
Okay.
It doesn't work, but it works with a tube amp. Well, here comes a Kemper. Now, the first guy to tell me about Kemper was Eric Bazillion of the Hooters. He had one a million years ago when they first came out, and he was bragging about it. I'm like, I'm not interested. And other clients of mine were telling me about him. The guy that pushed me over the edge was Brian Baker of Bad Religion.
All right.
Yeah, back in the day, he was in Minor Threat,
Uh-huh.
Dead Nasty, and then he was in Junkyard, the coolest hair band of all time because they were in North Hollywood. They weren't South Hollywood. They were like skate punk,
Yeah.
hard rock band. And he's just a tremendous player. And at the time, he was using nothing but Les Paul Juniors, and I was doing the work. And he was telling me, I asked him, I said, you used to always use Marshall Plexis. Is that what you use now? He goes, in a manner of speaking. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I have a profiler. I have a Kemper profiler, and I profiled my amps.
Mhm.
And so now I sound exactly the same on all different continents. And that was the endorsement I needed to hear. So
Mhm.
and about that time, Sarah started using a Kemper because she plays praise and worship, and a lot of the music in the church band is done with Kempers, and so she can get the exact profile that the artist used and sounds exactly right through the PA.
Yeah.
And so all of this lined up, and I became a Kemper dealer at my store, and um, I am now using a Kemper. The last 2 gigs I've done were all Kemper, and I'm looking forward to becoming competent at it. But right now, I'm a pretender. Right now, I'm just kind of
You're
using it.
both pretenders. I have more faith in you right now.
We'll help each other.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll
It's like
hold hands and skip off into the distance
it's a,
together.
we got it's a support group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm really looking forward to using
The
this
thing of
thing.
it is, you can assign your amps on one level. Like I just got the little foot unit. You can assign your amps on one level. Then on the other level, that okay, now what kind of effects do you want to put on the amps?
Oh yeah.
And that's yeah.
Well,
So
the cool thing is when you dig down into the amps, you can actually change the amount of sag. You can change the
yeah,
definition. You can change
and
change the resonance. I mean, you can bloody change everything but the color on the thing.
yeah.
And so yeah, and it's kind of like I grew up working in tape studios, and I can remember like cutting and splicing tape. I can remember bouncing tracks to save channels, which to anybody that doesn't understand that, let's say you have an 8 channel, you're using an 8 track tape, you'll record like 5 channels. You're like, oh shit, we're running out of channels. So you'd take 1 through 5 and pre-mix them and bounce them over and put that mix onto 8, and then that opens up all these other channels, and then eventually you end up with like 4 premixes which you just put together then for your final
Hmm.
product. And
I had a 4 track. That was that you had to do that if you wanted to have lots of tracks. That
yeah,
yep.
well, Night at the Opera was recorded on 4 tracks, and the famous story that they had to transfer it to another roll of tape because they held the tape up and the iron oxide was almost
I
gone.
didn't know that. Yeah, well, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
So
recorded so many vocal parts and so much. Yeah, yep.
Queen was just one of the best. They were just, anybody watching this, if you don't like Queen, just go away. I don't even want to talk to you.
We're just like
That's how good
respect
Queen
them.
is.
It's like how do you not respect them? Like is one thing, but it's like now how could you disrespect?
Yeah, I love Queen. I
Yeah.
love Queen. In fact, my assistant Dylan and I were driving down south of York to get a bunch of shelves on Wednesday, and we just listened to Queen and just almost had tears in her eyes. Listen to how
So
beautiful.
you say he's your assistant. Let's talk about Dylan a little bit.
Well, Dylan is he does repairs at BCR where because I sold the store years ago,
Yeah.
and he was my apprentice, and now I just call him my assistant. He's with me on Wednesdays,
Mhm.
and I help him with repairs
Mhm.
that are more complex. And he helps me with stuff. I'm still I had my shoulder rebuilt last year, and I'm still having problems with repetitive motion, like sanding,
Mhm.
um, grinding frets, stuff like that. So there's some things that I have a tough time doing, and I ask him to help me with that.
Yeah.
And I'm continuing to work with him. And then I have an apprentice named Logan Miller who shows a lot of promise. And then when he's done, he'll probably end up working at BCR as well.
Logan
And
Miller.
yeah, yeah,
Who's
really
he,
good
who did
guy.
he play with?
I would love to be able to answer that question, but I
I
cannot.
think I might have taught him at one time.
Yeah,
That seems
tall
familiar.
guy, tall, good-looking kid, long
I
hair
think
and
he
a
was like
beard.
10 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's yeah, he's a really good guy, and he's very intuitive. And
There was a Logan in a band called Cole, not the Tony Ryder Cole, but Cole. But that's a Tony Ryder Cole too, but two different decades. But
okay,
recently, yeah. So I don't know. Cool guy.
yeah. Well, Logan and Dylan are both cool guys.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, they both have unusual names, so I call them the wrong name all the time.
Mhm.
So basically, I'm going to just relegate them both to a swear word at some point
Okay.
because that I can remember. But um, yeah. Oh, but did I mention joytotheburg.com?
Joy To The Burg in episode 15.
This is we've done this 14 times previous. I,
Yes.
it just, it seems like we just started. This is cool. This is
So what else we got?
let's see. Upcoming projects. Oh, well, I can't tell you about that. I'm doing there's a really cool small boutique guitar company. Um and they reached out to me and we came to an agreement, and I'm building a one-off guitar for them. And in fact, if you look on my media, you'll see some um, Claro walnut, figured walnut that I'm using for the top and back for this guitar.
Hmm.
And I've been working pretty hard on that, along with trying to
Hmm.
catch up on customer repairs. And I'll probably reveal that soon. Um, the body's almost completed, and um, but I just can't tell you about it yet.
All
But
right.
it's really cool. And on my currently on my media, I'm showing the repair I did
And he
for
says
Brian.
media. There's a Facebook, Greg Platzer Guitars, and
Yeah,
Instagram.
and Instagram, Greg Platzer Guitars. I'm showing the steps of the Brian Baker Les Paul custom conversion. Brian uh, has a few guitars, and he wanted an ivory white Les Paul custom with P90s, and there is no such thing. So he had a very pretty but just boring um, cream Les Paul custom with two humbuckers that had a headstock repair. And it was a nice guitar, but just nothing spectacular about it. And he brought it to me and he said, do this. So what I did was I converted it to, instead of a stop tail tune-o-matic, I converted it to a wraparound bridge
Mhm.
and with P90 in the bridge and an Alnico staple pickup in the neck, like a 1954 Les Paul custom.
Mhm.
And it was a fun job. It required a lot of work. And so if you go to my media, you can see I've got it broken down into sections because on Instagram, you can only show 10 images at a time. So I just put up section part number 3 today.
Okay.
Um, and if you go to Brian, if you go to his Instagram, he does this thing called a guitar a minute, and he actually shows that guitar, and you can hear it. He rips out on it a little bit. And man, it came out great. And it's ironically enough, Gibson has produced pretty much every possible permutation of guitar except for that with P90s and a wraparound. So
P90s. Now, uh, again, it's not going to take that long. You're going to get a guitar from me that I'm going to put P90s in.
mhm,
Just going to tell you that right now.
okay,
Guitar, the GNL.
okay,
Yes.
great guitars.
Yes. So I have a GNL that I want to have a P90 in.
Absolutely, I will take care of it.
I don't have a guitar with P90s.
I am a huge fan of P90s. In fact,
So that is a thing I need in my life.
well, after I did that guitar with Brian, I designed guitars for various guitar companies, and I have a great relationship with the Schecter USA company. And after I did that guitar with Brian, I contacted Schecter and I told him what I wanted. And we basically did the same thing I did for Brian, but in Pelham blue.
Mm-hmm.
Wraparound. And these are Schecter's V for Victor V90 pickups, which are like staple Alnico pickups. And they're custom wound for me. And but this is just a really, really cool thing. And the Pelham blue is just crazy. Pelham is a DuPont color that was used in the late 50s, early 60s on General Motors products.
Okay.
And, PELHAM, Pelham blue. And that is over Carina, which is like Greg's wood of choice. Just fantastic, fantastic guitar. So I'm a big fan of the wraparound bridge, no moving parts. It's all you need to play guitar, nothing more. And even acoustically, this thing is out of tune and very loud. So just a cool guitar, big fat neck, Carina, Pelham blue, and they make amazing pickups. I actually use their pickups and a lot of my guitars, a lot of my Gibsons and what have you. And even my PRS has a Schecter bridge pickup
I
in
didn't
it.
know you had a PRS.
Oh, well, shall we? Shall we? There is a guy by the name of David Grissom.
Oh, all right.
David Grissom is a tremendous guitar player. I first became aware of him
State of Texas.
when he played with John Mellencamp.
Yeah.
And then he ended up in one of my favorite bands of all time called Storyville, which was the rhythm section, Double Trouble rhythm section. And David and Dave Holt or Scott Holt, depending on who you're talking to, who was Buddy Guy's guitar player, and a tremendous vocalist named Alfred Milligan. And David helped them design the McCarty guitar, which was very Gibson inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted some things a little more than what they were doing with the McCarty. He wanted separate volumes, which I'm a hardcore. I have to have separate volumes between the neck and middle because I'm in the middle position a lot. I like to blend the pickups. And he wanted a particular neck shape, and they not only accommodated him, but it's been a very popular signature line that's been in the PRS range now for I don't know, coming on to 2 decades at least.
Yeah.
And a lot of signature guitars come and go. A lot of manufacturers will work with somebody for a year or two, but David is still very important. In fact, their import line, their SE line, they're starting to make a DGT SE model now. They're in the prototype phase. So this is my DGT.
All right.
And that's kind of stunning.
That is beautiful.
And what I did was I love everything about it except David's bridge pickup was not quite powerful enough for me. So I have a Schecter Sunset in the bridge of this, and it works beautifully with the coil tapping. And
like what you did.
This guitar has something really cool, and we'll explore this in electronics in a future episode. We're gonna dig really deep into coil tapping and what it does and how it does. And essentially, coil tapping, you're shorting out one coil of a humbucker. It's splitting. You're coil splitting. You're not tapping, but everybody calls it coil tapping. Well, the problem is you go from 2 coils, and if you have an 8K pickup, then all of a sudden you have a 4K output. So when you split it, you go to a single coil, and you get the brighter, spankier single coil sound, but you also have the significantly lower output of a single coil. Well, with David's guitar, they figured out by adding resistors, very particular resistors into the circuit, when you tap it or split, when you shunt off one of the coils, it brings a resistor in so that you don't have the volume drop. And so his guitars, like you tap it, and now the neck pickup sounds like Hendrix, for God's sake, and you don't have that huge volume drop, so your amp doesn't change the way it reacts to the guitar.
Yeah.
I was very concerned that the Schecter pickup would not like that, but in actuality, the Schecter pickup loved being tapped and having the resistor. So DGT, David Grissom Trim.
So let's talk a little bit about the Paul Reed Smith whammy bar. So back in the day, like you and I are roughly ish the same age, right?
I'll be 59 in
Yeah,
January.
you're like an older brother.
Thank you.
Anyway, so you remember like back in the day that Floyd Rose and Kaler's, you're either a Floyd Rose guy and you're a Kaler guy. And prior to that, it was like, okay, we had the Strat, and then prior to that was like the Bigsby. Okay. So what has the road to the PRS isn't like any of that. And
No, and in fact, I'll tell you what, let's do this. The Bigsby was the first commercially available tremolo designed by a gentleman by the name of Paul P.A. Bigsby, who he was a designer with the Indian Motorcycle Company and a strong proponent of aluminum manufacturing. And so here is a Bigsby. And the way the Bigsby works, as you drop the bar, this cam, see if I can get it to do this. This cam moves and the string balls, basically the string gets shorter and it drops the pitch. And it's a brilliant idea, but there's so many moving parts that it can lead to problems. Plus, you'll get friction right here going across the saddles, and then up at the headstock, especially with the Gibson where you have a pitchback headstock, there's a lot of friction here at the nut, and then you have to be very particular about how you put your strings on your headstock.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with the Bigsby, you would move the bar an awful lot.
It's more of a subtle.
You don't get much pitch drop.
Yeah, it's more of a subtle thing. The Bigsby sound. Now,
if you're Chet Atkins, it's awesome.
Well, and I think if I was a zillionaire, that would be I would have to have a guitar that had a Bigsby on it.
Yeah.
If I was Tim Pierce kind of deal.
Well,
and that is a sound that I do not have.
Well, then along comes Leo Fender, and they did this sort of bridge, which is a Strat style tremolo. This is a Tajima, cool, cheap guitar, a lot of fun. And there were 6 screws. Mm-hmm. And the thing, when it was originally set up, the bridge would be standing up just a little bit and held in place with the screws. And then you could wiggle the bar. And that would stay in tune better than a Bigsby. And it had about a similar pitch drop. Well, then along come guys like Eddie Van Halen. And Eddie Van Halen would just put 2 screws in or hog out the holes for the center one. So they weren't really doing anything. So it was just pivoting on 2 points.
Yeah.
And then he had it set where it would be flush against the body. And when he pushed down on the bar, it would drop all the tension out.
Yeah.
Now, again, friction at the nut, and you have to have the strings on very, very particularly. Yeah. But Jimi Hendrix and Eddie used standard Strat tremolos, Eddie at first, and it still led to some tuning.
Oh my God. Van Halen 1 was not a Floyd Rose.
No. And so the a gentleman named Floyd Rose, a machinist, came up with the idea of locking the strings at either end. And it just so happens, it's good we're doing this over in the office, because it just so happens that I have a visual aid for just about everything here. This is a Floyd Rose tremolo. This is on a Hamer Steve Stevens guitar. And with the Floyd Rose, we're pivoting on 2 points. Mm-hmm. And the strings lock there, and they also lock up here. So, and then there are fine tuners here because these saddles pivot. So when you drop the bar, you can literally take all of the tension out and it returns perfectly to pitch. Inside the back, there are a bunch of springs. The tension of the springs and the strings is equal. And if it's done right,
yeah,
get that sort of pivot. And the cool thing is I can drop the tension on the strings and we still have the guitar in tune. So if we were to unlock this, it would still be in tune.
Yeah.
So that's a Floyd Rose. And to me, that is the superior tremolo. And then people have come up with things since. And the only
what about the Ibanez thing where, yeah, the Steve Vai thing where he carved out, you could pull it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, that was on this guitar. You can see that the bridge is high enough that it's not a problem because this has a little bit of a pitch back for the neck.
Yeah, you know.
When you put one of these on a Floyd or a Floyd on a Strat or something like that with no neck angle, yeah, you can't pull back. With this, I can go back, 2 steps.
Yeah.
Probably 2.5. Let me hang this back up. Well, Paul Reed Smith is a friggin' genius, and he looked at the Fender idea,
Mm-hmm.
and what he did was he modified it. We have 6 screws, but what we have actually is 6 screws with grooves in them, and then each one of the holes is actually chamfered so it has a knife edge. So when all of these 6 screws are lined up perfectly, they slot in, and this bridge pivots kind of like the Floyd does. And it has a big brass block on it. And with this, we can get a lot of drop because we have locking tuning machines
Mm-hmm.
up on the headstock and a friction-free nut. So Floyd Rose, similar to Floyd Rose Performance, but non-locking.
Yeah.
And so it's a tremendous bridge.
Yeah.
And it works extremely well. It has to be set up just right, as you know.
Yes.
It has to be set up just right. But when you set it up just right, it's a set it and forget it sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's the only guitar I have a whammy bar, and I use it all the time.
Yeah.
When I use that guitar.
Well, and if you ever need a guitar with a whammy, I got a couple laying around.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Tremolo 101.
Right.
G&L has a good tremolo as well. Again, pivoting on 2 points like on a Floyd, knife edges. But for my dollar, if you need to hammer the shit out of your tremolo, it's got to be a Floyd. And I use bridges on my builds from Floyd Upgrades, FU Tone out of New Jersey. Adam has this. He worked at Floyd for a long time. He invented the EVHD tuna, in fact, and sold that to Eddie. And Adam does great stuff, superior build quality on his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so FU Tone is who I would highly recommend reaching out to. That's what I use on my builds.
That's wonderful.
And the fun thing is, a good player can make anything sound good, and a lousy player can make anything sound bad. But what I'm seeing now, in 2022, late 2022, after 40 years of doing this, 40 plus years of doing this, is that the consumer is so well informed now. I can remember in 1985, let's say, having somebody want me to build them a guitar, and I would ask them particular questions, and they wouldn't even know what I was talking about. They're just, well, build me a Strat, but maybe with a humbucker. And now guys are calling me up and they're like, I want a Carina bodied Strat with a Gibson scale 24 3/4 inch scale instead of the Fender 25.5. And I want a compound radius fingerboard where it starts at 12 and goes to 16 instead of a 9.5 radius like an American Standard Strat. And they're very particular about every aspect of the guitar. And that's really kind of cool. There's so many things available to us nowadays. If you just do your diligence, you're going to be so much better off. And that brings us back to the Kemper. See how I did that? Where you have to approach this with a completely different mindset. And we are going to go on the Kemper journey together, you and I, and we're going to help everybody that watches this. And when I come up with something I think is kind of cool, I'll tell you about it. And if you wouldn't mind doing the same.
We will also share favorite Kemper sounds once we get them
Well, they also, you know what, Michael Britt, M Britt Profiles.
Mhm.
That's all I have to say, man. That guy's the best. He's in Nashville. He's the guitar player, in oh my God, I just completely forgot the name of the band. They did that,
Lone Star.
Lone Star. That's correct. Man, I am getting old. Good for you. And he has cracked the code on profiling.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? Let's get back to that. Profiling is different from modeling. And this is gonna be our way out of this episode.
All right.
Modeling amps, you were asking a computer to replicate the circuitry of an amp. And so a modeling amp, it's all ones and zeros, and you're literally programming like, well, it would have this resistor here, so let's find the digital equivalent of this resistor and insert it into the signal path here. And it might sound okay across the room, but when you're playing it, it doesn't feel like you're playing an amp at all. With profiling, you take an actual amplifier and you plug into it, and then you mic it, and the Kemper, you play all manner of volumes, attacks, turn your volume up and down, this, that, what have you, and you go through a very elaborate series of performances. And what the Kemper does is it listens and it goes, oh, okay, well, it does that. Oh, it does that. It does that. So then when you plug into a profile of, let's say we profiled my 59 basement. I have a 59 Tweed basement, friggin' amazing amplifier, but I don't dare take it out.
Yeah, yeah.
If I profile it, the cool thing about a 59 basement is Marshalls were based on them. We'll talk about that at a later time. But the bottom line is it's a very dynamic amp. You turn the volume down, it changes. You turn the volume up, it changes. And it's just a great sounding amp, but there's sweet spots on it. And with the Kemper, it learned the sweet spots. So when you plug into a profile of a 59 Tweed basement, it's as if you're playing that amp, because it reacts. When you turn the volume down, it does the exact same thing that the real amp did. When you stutter pick on a long low string, like if you're on a G string down low and you there's this weird resonance that a basement has that you don't get on another amp. It's there. All of the idiosyncrasies and character flaws are preserved. So instead of having a perfect anomaly to the amp, you have what the amp does absolutely. So when I'm running through the Kemper, through the THD 212 or the Marshall 412, and I use any of the vintage Marshall tones or whatever, it's as if I'm playing through that very amp. And to me, that is just absolutely mind blowing. And nothing else does that. Nothing does that.
Yeah,
and so with Kemper, the possibilities are endless. And this is not a paid Kemper advertisement, because I have no connection to Kemper whatsoever.
Yes. We are not making money, people. Episode 15.
No. And you know, I will say one cool thing also with you buy your Kemper new, they give you all the updates for free. A lot of companies are like, oh, we updated for $15. We'll update to your latest firmware. Kemper is just like, oh, just log in and download the latest updates, and they're constantly making the product better. And if every other company did what Kemper did, this place would be amazing. So a lot of we'll end with this. A lot of optimism. It is the season where our Lord was born again. It is a fantastic time of year. So hold those near and dear to you close, and make sure that you're being who you need to be.
Mm-hmm. And be good.
Be nice to each other. Be good to each other.
Yeah. Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. That's my job.
Yes. We don't have whatever.
So 15 is done. This is it.
15. All right. Merry Christmas, all. This is our Christmas episode. Do we mention Joy To The Burg?
.com.
JoyToTheBurg.com.
Help people out that you'll never ever meet. It feels great.
Good work, people. We're about the good work. Anyway, I will see you. See you. Merry Christmas to you all.
See you next year.
Yep.
Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you all a funky good year. Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you all good tidings and cheer. Joy to the world.